Welcome back. In this video, we are going to create section 4 of the layout, which is the services or our services. So let's get started and make sure that we create something similar like what we have here on the layout. So on the HTML, I'm going to start that section. First, I'm going to start with a comment, which is start section 4, the services. So we have the section with an ID of services and a class of our services, which will have the container and a row. So I'm going to hit tab. So here we're going to start with that heading. So we have the our services and then this heading line. Copy. So this one is H1 with a class of display3 and a class of font weight bold. So I'm going to hit tab. I'm going to save. Then we need that heading line. So we have the class heading line and some margin at the bottom. So MB5. So I'm going to save. Let's see. So we have the heading. So we need it at the center. So here we're going to add the text center class. So we have the text center. I'm going to save. Let's see. And there you have it. So next we are going to create the font style of this heading. So we are going to do the same way we did with display 2 on the introduction. So we're going to add that font family called Poppins. So on typography, we are going to create that display 3. So first is a comment, which is display 3. And then you have that class display 3. So here I'm going to copy the font family from display 2. So copy, and then here we're going to paste, save. Let's see. And there you have it. You can see now the heading is using that font family called Poppins. Next, we are going to create the two columns which have the two description and a border at the center. So let's work on that. So here I'm going to create another container for that content. So I'm going to start with a comment, which is start the description content. So we have a container class which will have a row, and a row will have some padding at the top. So I'm going to use padding top 2, and some padding at the bottom. So we have padding bottom 2, and then some margin at the top 5, and then some margin at the bottom, so MB3. And then we need the two columns, so I'm going to group them. So I'm going to use call MD6, and then I'm going to say times 2 to create the two at once. Hit tab. So I'm going to start with the description for the first column. So here we have a class called BG white and some padding. So I'm going to use P3, tab, and then H2 with a class of font weight bold and a class of text capitalize and a class of text center. So I'm going to copy the text from the layout. Copy, paste. Then for the second column, the description for the second column, again, we have bg white and a class of some padding. So we're going to use p4. And then a class of text start to align it at the left. Then you're going to create a paragraph with a class of font weight light and a class of text start, but you already have it on the bg weight. So I'm going to hit tab, and then I'm going to copy that text from the layout. Paste. I'm going to save. Let's see from the browser. So there we have now our two description. So the next thing now is to add this border at the center of the two columns. So here I'm going to create a class called border right. So on the first column, I'm going to add that class, which you're going to style it. We have border right. And then inside the typography, we are going to style it. Let's start with a comment, which is border right. And then the class is border right. So we have that property, border right. And I'm going to set the width to 0.1 rem, solid. And I'm going to use gray 300. And then here I'm going to set the height to 100%. So we have the height 100%. So I'm going to save. Let's see from the browser. And there you have it. You can see now we have that border at the center of the two description. Next, I'm going to create the three content for the services. So from the layout, here we have marketing, web development, and cloud hosting. So for each service, we have an icon, heading, text, button, and then an illustration. Same way with the second and the third one. So let's work on that. So here I'm going to start another container for that content. So first, you're going to start with a comment, which is start the content for the services. So here you're going to generate the three sections at once using Emmet. So you can see here from the layout, we have the two sections. We have the first section, which have the content, and then on the right, we have an illustration. Same way with the second and the third. So here we have a container. And then we have a row. So I'm going to group it. The row will have two columns each. So I'm going again to group them. So we have, for large devices, you're going to use call LG6. And then for medium devices, you're going to use call MD6. And then for small devices, you're going to use call small 12. And then for extra small, you're going to use call extra small 12. And then we need another container for all the content. So I'm going to call it services. Then we need margin at the top, so I'm going to use margin top 4. Then from there, we need now the container for the content, that is the text. So we have, I'm going to call it services. Here we're going to use block element modifier __ content. So for the columns, I'm going to say ×2, so that we have 2 columns for each row. And then you're going to create the 3 rows or the 3 sections. So I'm going to say ×3. So that means for each row, we'll have 2 columns each. So I'm going to hit tab, and then it's going to generate for us all the 3 sections. So you can see now we have the first row having the 2 columns, the second row having the 2 columns for web development, and then the third row or the third section having the 2 columns for cloud hosting. So I'm going to comment them so that we can know where they start. So we have start the marketing content, tab. So we have the second one, so start the web development content. And then finally the third one, which is start the cloud hosting content. So I'm going to start with the content for marketing, and we have that content on the first column. So here I'm going to add the content and then I'm going to style it later. So we have the icon and then the heading and then the text and then this button, and then on the second column we have this illustration. So let's work on that. So here I'm going to create a class called icon, which is going to style that icon, and then you're going to add that icon. So we have the font awesome solid class, and then the name of that icon is paper plane. Tab. Then the second item is the heading. So we have h3 with a class of display 3. So here I'm going to use block element modifier to style it. So we have display 3 and then minus title. Then I'm going to add some margin at the top. So we have margin top 1, tab, and then the heading is marketing. The other item is the text. So we are going to have a paragraph with a class of line height large. So here we're going to add some dummy text. So we have lorem 28. Then we have the button. So here we're going to copy the button from the intro section. So I'm going to scroll up and then copy the button. So we have, and then here I'm going to change the text to learn more. So I'm going to save. Let's see how it looks like on the browser so far. So this is our content. So here we're going to add the border primary to the button. So I'm going to add that class. So we have border primary. Save. Let's see. And there you have it. So now we can go ahead and copy this content to the rest of the 2 sections. So I'm going to copy the icon, the heading, the paragraph, and the button. So for the second column, which is web development, we have that content on the second column. So I'm going to paste it on the second column. And then for cloud hosting, we have that content on the first column. Paste. Then I'm going to change the heading to cloud hosting. And then also change the icon. So that icon is called cloud upload alt. And then we have web development. And also going to change the icon to code. So I'm going to save. So let's see from the browser. And this is how our content looks like. So we have marketing, that is the content for marketing, web development, and cloud hosting. Next, I'm going to add the illustrations, and I already have them. So I have a folder called services, which has the 3 illustrations in PNG. So I'm just going to copy the entire folder to my project. So inside the services, I'm going to paste. So now we can go ahead now and add the illustrations. So let's start with the marketing. So for the first row, we have the illustration on the second column. So here we have an image with a class of image fluid. And then we have an alt. We have marketing illustration. Tab. So we have the images folder, which is the source, and then the services, and then service1.png. That is for marketing. So I'm just going to copy this to web development. So we have the illustration on the first column. Paste, and then you're going to change the value to service2, and then change also the alt to web development. I'll do the same to the third one, which is cloud hosting. So we have it on the second column. Paste, change the value to service3, and also the alt, which is cloud hosting illustration. So I'm going to save. Let's see from the browser. And there you have it. Now we have the 3 illustrations. So the next step now is to style the content. And you're going to do that on the Sass file for that section, which is the services.scss. So here I'm going to start with the container for all the content, which is the services class. And then we need to do some correction on the HTML. So at the beginning of that section, we created a class called our services. So let's rename that to just services. And then save. So on this container, we're going to start by setting the position to relative, and then some padding. I'm going to use the shorthand. Top and bottom, you're going to use 1 rem, and then for left and right, 0. And then you're going to nest it the way we've done on the HTML. So we have this class called services__content. And then we have the icon inside the content. So that's how we're going to nest it. So we have __content inside the services. So here again, we're going to set the padding for the content to 1 rem, all sides. Then some margin at the top. I'm going to use 1.5 rem. And then we need to style the icon. So we have that icon class inside the content. So for the font size, you're going to set that to 2.5 rem. You can change that later if it's too big or too small. And then the color, we have primary. So I'm going to save, and then we need to use the module at the top. So we have the use at rule, and then custom. So use it as star. Save. Let's see from the browser results so far. And there you have it. So we have our icon with a font size of 2.5. Next, we're going to style the heading. So if you check here from the layout, you can see the heading is as if it has 2 colors. So we have some purple at the left, and then on the right we have this pinkish color. So here we're going to use background clipping. So on typography, we are going to style it the way we have done on the HTML again. So you can see we have display 3. So you're going to modify that display 3. So if you check again from the HTML here, just to show you where we have the heading, we have display 3 class, and then -- title. So you're going to modify it the way we have done there. So we have -- title. So here we're going to start with the font size. I'm going to set that to 1.8 rem. Then text transform, we're going to set that to capitalize. And then font weight, I'm going to use 600. and then the font family. So we're going to copy what we have here. And then set the display to inline block. So we have that background clip. We're going to clip text. So before we set the background clip, we need the background color. So we have the background image. We're going to use linear gradient because we need the two colors. So the direction of the color is to right. And then you have the first color, primary. Second color, secondary. Then we need to clip the text. So here we're going to use a property called WebKit text fill color. So we have WebKit text fill color, and we're going to use transparent. So I'm going to save. Let's see from the browser. So here we need to set for the WebKit background clip. Let's check on the browser, and there you have it. You can see now it has clipped that background color. So here we need to set the display on the HTML to block so that they can be on separate lines. So on the HTML, where we have the icon, you're going to set the display to block. So I'm going to select the 3 icon classes, and then display block. Save, let's see, and there you have it. So something else on the HTML, we need to push the illustrations on the edge. So we're going to select the first one, which is marketing. So we have that illustration. We're going to add that class called text end, where we have the column. So we have the text end to push it to the edge. And then for the web development, you're going to also do the same on the illustration, where we have that the column. So we have the text start, and then also for the cloud hosting, we have that illustration. So we're going to set that to text end. Save, let's see. So now you can see the illustration have been pushed to the start and the end. So something else is we need to do some correction on where we have the illustration. So on the HTML, let's start with the marketing. So where we have that class called services __ content, we need to change that to pic so that it represents the illustration. So let's do the same also for the second, that is web development. You're going to replace that with services __ pic for picture, and also the third one, which is the cloud hosting, I'm going to change that to pic. Then on the Sass file, we need to nest it that way, the way I've done. So we have __ pic. So here you're going to set the max width to 100%. And then for the content, we need to change the margin top to 5 rem. So I'm going to save. Let's see from the browser. So that is how our content looks like. Much better now. Next, you're going to make sure that our section is fully responsive. So I'm going to right click and inspect elements. So this is how the section look like on Moto G4. That's a device with a screen window of 360. So you can see we have so much or big spaces between the content. So for the first one, which is the space between the heading and the first description, and this has to do with margin. So let's go to the HTML. So where we have the heading line, you're going to change the margin bottom from MB5 to MB1 and then save. Let's see. So you can see now the space has reduced a bit. Again, also here we have the margin top where we have the first description. Let's change the margin top to 0. Save. Let's see. So you can see now the space is much better. The next one is the space between the second description and marketing. So this is the content for the services. So let's see from the HTML. So again, here you can see we have so many containers. We have a container for the heading. We have another container for the to description and another container for the services. So let's remove the container where we have the description so that they can share the container with the heading. So let's remove this one and also this container. So I'm going to save. Let's see. So now the content is aligning nicely. So the next one is the space between. You can see here we have this space but still. So here we're going to write a media breakpoint, which is going to target large devices. So on the Sass file, where you have the content, we have margin top. So here I'm going to write a media breakpoint, which is going to target large devices. So we have that mixing, include media breakpoint up. So that is from large devices. Large. So here I'm going to copy the margin top. So we're going to set that to 5 rem. And then the default, you're going to set that to 0. So I'm going to save. Let's see. So you can see that one has already fixed that. The next one is to work on the icon and the heading. Again, here you're going to write another media breakpoint where we have the icon and the font size on typography. So I'm going to copy this media breakpoint and use it where we have the icon. So here on large devices, you're going to set that to 2.5, and then the default, you're going to set that to 1.5. Again, on typography, let's go to typography where you have display 3. So let's copy that media breakpoint. Copy. So here we're going to set the font size to 1.5, 1.8, 1.8, and then for other devices it's going to remain to 0 to 1 rem, and then I'm going to save. Let's see now. So you can see that has already fixed that. You can see the icon and the heading. They're a bit small now on small devices. So I'm going to change to another device larger than that. Let's see from an iPad. Also, you can see the font size of the heading and the icon are a bit small now. So you can even reduce the font size of the text. Yeah, let's do that. So on the services, inside the content, we have the paragraph, that is the P, font size. So the default, you're going to set that to 0.8 rem, and then you're going to write another media breakpoint. So here we're going to set that to 1 rem. 1 rem. That will target only the large devices. So I'm going to save. Let's see. So you can see now much better. I think we can increase the font size of the heading. So let's set that to 1.1 or 1.2. Save. Let's see. So I think now everything is much better. So let's change to another device, iPad Pro. That's a large device. So you can see the content is nicely fitting. Moto G4. again you can see the content is nicely fitting on that screen device. So that means our section is fully responsive, and we can move on to the next section.